So hey guys, thanks for joining us today. I'm Courtney Gavin, and I'm going to be interviewing Alyssa Bedard, and she's from Breathing Through Life, Tampa Bay, and she's a certified doula. So I'm really excited to introduce you to her. So I'm going to read her quick bio here so you can get to know her just a little bit more. So Alyssa is a St. Petersburg native. She became engaged in birth work after receiving her master's degree from the University of South Florida, and she studied public health education with a focus on maternal and child health. Alyssa has devoted herself to health equity leadership as a speaker, community leader, doula, and full-time professor. Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Thank
Her purpose is to intentionally address the social and political determinants of health that contribute to rising inequities and infant maternal mortality rates. As an advocate for women's reproductive justice, Alyssa created Breathing Through Life, LLC, a doula birth service which empowers families through the precious moments of pregnancy, birth, and parenting. So she currently serves in partnership with the Foundation for a Healthy St. Pete, Unite Pinellas, Leadership St. Pete, and the Black Health Equity Alliance. That's so amazing. So cool. You are a busy woman.
Yes, super busy.
That's amazing. I love what you're doing in the community, so we definitely need more women like you. And fun fact for you guys on the call, Alyssa's a really, really good friend of my sister's, and so we've known each other for so long now, probably a good at least 20 years, I don't know.
Yeah, so we actually realized that we went to preschool together too.
Wow, really?
So elementary school and preschool.
Oh my gosh.
Which is just insane. So basically our whole lives.
It's a small world, I tell you. Oh my gosh. St. Pete, yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's great. Good stuff. So I love what you're doing. And so let's go ahead and get started with some of the basics. I'm so glad that you reached out to me, and I definitely wanted to bring more awareness of motherhood and bring content that actually is, factual and safe, because the more information we have, the better, advocate we can be for our own self. So I definitely want to talk more about doulas. Can you tell us what is a doula and what is that life like?
Yeah, absolutely. So a doula ultimately is a physical and emotional support person for mom. So traditionally, if you look back, women have always been surrounded by women when birthing. When you look back in just the history of birth and midwifery, back to, the biblical days, there were always women supporting women through labor and delivery. And so a doula serves as that emotional and physical support person. Now, different doulas have different practices. And because of my background in education, specifically in maternal and child health education, I pour a lot of education into my work prenatally. And so typically a doula will see her client a couple of times prior to labor to build that rapport, to provide education. I do a whole sort of mock labor where we practice comfort techniques and breathing techniques so that the partner or the mom's family can get involved and they kind of know what to do to support her when the time comes. And then we support women all the way through their entire labor. And then we also see them postnatally for some postpartum support and just helping with the baby, helping with breastfeeding. And so we're there as a part of the birth team. We're not there to replace anyone. We're not there to replace dad or grandmas. Grandmas are real, touchy with their babies when their babies are birthing. I love my grandmas. But we're there to enhance the birthing experience and really help mom get through the pains of labor.
Wow, that's amazing. And I didn't realize that support goes way back to the biblical times. That's amazing. And you truly need support when you give birth. It's no joke.
Honestly, you can even see that support in animals. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So specifically in elephants, elephants will physically surround. They will make a circle. The women elephants of the family will make a circle around the birthing mom, and the grandma of the elephants, like the elder elephant, will come and literally like support her physically while she's laboring. And then the boy elephants are just like off and doing their thing, right? But the women they make this circle of protection around the birthing mom. And when the babies grow up, right, and they stay with all of the women in the family until they become an adolescent, and then if they're a boy, they go off and do their own thing, and if they're a girl elephant, they stay forever, and those families continue to just birth and support each other like that. And so we see it in humans, but we also see that in animals. It's amazing.
That is so cool. I had no idea. That is amazing. It says a lot. You really need that tribe, but that's just mind blowing. So I learned something new today.
Yes,
I'm glad you shared that with us. Wow. So that's cool. So would you say, so for doulas, do they go through some type of training? Do they have to be certified? Because I know some people think of doulas as midwives or nurses. Can you talk about those
the differences?
roles?
So this is like one of my favorite things to talk about.
Oh, good.
So doulas and midwives are completely different. So a doula, in order to become certified, there is a certification process that a doula goes through. And we are not medically trained to provide any medically driven prenatal care and or labor and delivery care. So we strictly fall into the category of physical, emotional, educational support, empowerment. And now doulas can be trained in other things. Like, for example, I have my CPR certifications, my newborn resuscitation certifications, but those are things that I've done on my own just so that I can expand my knowledge and feel fully secure in any sort of situation.
Absolutely.
But midwives are the medical provider for the mom. So they are in line like with the OBs, if that makes any sense.
Nice.
So while we physically and emotionally support mom, the midwife would come in and do all of mom's vitals. She's going to do any sort of newborn care. She's actually going to what we call catch the baby. Doulas are not allowed to catch babies unless you're birthing at home or at a birthing center and the family wants you to catch the baby with the midwife there. So the other really important thing that is really critical for moms to understand is that doulas are there in the room with you the entire time, right?
Yeah.
And midwives are not. Midwives come in for the medical care, so they'll come in once an hour, they'll check your vitals, they'll take the fetal heart tones, they'll kind of coach you through whatever's going on right then and there, and then they leave and they let you birth with your birth team. They don't come, if you're birthing at home, for example, they don't come until closer to the end of labor, whereas the doulas are there from the beginning to the end. And you don't necessarily want your midwife, who is going to be helping you actually have the baby and deliver the baby, you don't want her to be tired from doing hip squeezes and rubbing your back for 4 hours and getting you into different positions. Like they are the medical professionals. And there's two different routes for midwifery that people can choose to go down versus doulas just have like the certification.
That's really good to know, and I'm glad you made that distinction, because I know even for me, I wasn't sure what the real difference was, but that's good to know. So doulas, they aren't like licensed medical professionals, but they're really truly there to be your support system and to be your advocate, and they're there from start to finish, which is really nice for sure. Because I personally,
really long.
I've never had a doula before, and I'm totally pro doula. So this is great insight, and if we have more kids in the future, I'm probably going to get one.
Yeah.
I currently have a midwife, and she's absolutely amazing. And it's the same midwife I had with my son Xander. But you're right, they're not there the whole time. She comes in to check on me, and I got induced with Xander, so she came in and checked on us a couple times throughout the day. And she was there to actually deliver my son, which was great because I was very comfortable with her. But shortly after that, once she patched me up and everything, then they move on and go to their next patient, or they go home.
Exactly. And doulas stay postnatally for those. Well, in my practice, I stay 2.5 to 3 hours after labor. So I help with the initial breastfeeding. I'm making sure that mom is good. I get you up, I get you showered, I get you cleaned off and changed.
That's huge.
Yeah. And then if you're in the hospital, a good doula should stay all the way up until you transition from the labor and delivery room to the mommy and baby unit. Or if you're at home, just staying for a few extra hours. Sometimes doulas will kind of pick up the laundry and start the first load. We can lay with the baby for a bit while mom, you know, gets a little bit of rest. Dads usually at that point are exhausted as well because they've been up with mom for the whole time. And I think that doulas have this like never-ending sense of energy, especially when the baby comes. So sometimes we get tired, right? Yeah. If we're with a mom laboring for 12 or 14 hours or so. When the baby comes, it's like this like rush of adrenaline, and we're like, okay, we can go another 12 hours.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, wow. And again, I'm glad you made that distinction so that moms can be aware of what their options are and what they may need. So that's great. Very cool. So what do you think are some of the benefits, and why should someone consider getting a doula?
Well, the benefits are endless. Statistically speaking, there's research that proves that having a doula significantly decreases the likelihood of you getting a C-section, right? Nice. So a real life experience in this thought, in this research is, let's say mom is birthing at a hospital and she's 8 centimeters dilated and she's kind of been at 8 for a while, right? Just in reality, by the way, there's a documentary called The Business of Being Born, for anybody watching. It's a really good one that just talks literally about the business behind birth. And it's not to deter anyone from going to the hospital to have a baby. People go to hospitals every day to have babies and they're fine. But maybe she's 8 centimeters and the nurse or the doctor comes in and says, hey, you know, you've been here for a while. We're going to give you another hour. Like, let's see what your body does. And long story short, she doesn't progress. And then eventually the baby kind of, the heart rate may go up and down. And this is such a common experience. And then they end up having to give her a C-section. So if she were to have had a doula would know which positions to get her into to help baby come down, how to work with her body, how to work with gravity. We can use the rebozo techniques. We can use the peanut ball and all of the different tools and kits that we have to ensure that she can still birth naturally. So there's like a physical benefit there. But then also having someone that you trust, that is knowledgeable, that has experienced birth so many times with so many different women, with so many different body types and situations. We carry that experience with us everywhere we go. And so having someone that you know has your best sort of intentions and wants to benefit wants to just be a benefit to your life, wants to give you the best birthing experience that you deserve, it's priceless. There's so many benefits, and then just also having like someone to talk to about questions. So when you're in midwifery care, it's a little bit different than OB care. Midwives usually will take their time and kind of answer the silly questions, and like the little questions like, hey, I heard that I can't get my nails painted, is that true? Right? When you're in OB care, typically things are much more fast paced. They usually have a rotation of doctors where you may see one doctor throughout your pregnancy and then a different doctor may deliver your baby. When you have a doula who's consistent, you can ask all of the questions. There's, you know, we take our time. We're at your availability literally like your entire pregnancy. Wow. So there's not a moment where one of my clients texts me and I'm not available. I mean, we're just on call 24/7 for questions, for conversations, obviously when the birth comes. So just having somebody in your corner who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. Wow. You've definitely named, you're right. The benefits are countless and I'm definitely convinced.
Yeah.
That's huge. Wow. I don't even know where to start, but like, yeah, I think that the overarching theme is you got to have that advocate and that support person who has your best interest. And you're right. You know, giving birth really is a business, you know, for hospitals and doctors and things like that. And one of the things I love about my midwife is she promotes natural births. And she has a significantly low C-section rate. And
Wow.
so that's something I like, because you're right, unfortunately, sometimes moms are pushed into getting unnecessary procedures and interventions,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they just want to kind of get you in and out of there, but
Yep.
that may not be the best case for the mom or the baby. So
Absolutely. And you think
I
about
love
naturally, like the amount of time that it takes to labor, and not to go too far down this tangent, but your body really labors for a few days before you actually have the baby. So if you're intuitively paying attention to your body, you will be experiencing some pre-labor symptoms 2 to 3, sometimes 4 days prior to you having the baby,
Wow.
right? And so then obviously when you get into active labor, things start to transition, you know, more quickly.
Sure.
But there is typically a time frame when you are in the hospital where they would kind of like you to be in and out within 12 to 18 hours of coming in. And when I say in and out, I mean in and out of the labor room. But we know historically and traditionally, women don't necessarily take 12 hours to birth. Like, birthing can be much longer than that. And so there's this benefit to really taking your time and listening to your body and knowing what is happening, and then being prepared. Like, did someone tell you that you may be in early labor for 2 days? Did you rush straight to the hospital when your water broke? Like, you don't have to go right away unless there's other things happening. The longer you stay home, the less likely you are to have any interventions. And what we call it is the snowball effect. So once you get one intervention, it's so easy to just continue to get more and more interventions that end up leading to a C-section. And when I say one intervention, I mean, like, for example, if you get an IV and you get some Stadol medicine, which sort of takes the edge off of the pain, but it's not an epidural, then you're already hooked up, and then you may get a Foley, and then you might as well get an epidural, and then it's just all, right? The snowball effect.
Right.
And doulas are here to respect your birth plan and to remind you of your birth plan and help go in line with your birth plan. Now, obviously, there's emergency situations and things change, and we are super flexible and we support through those. And I've been a part of a handful of births where C-sections were necessary, and we did everything we could, and mom still ended up having to get a C-section, right? And so we just we provide grace and understanding and comfort and support through any situation.
That's huge. And I love that, because you named a bunch of stuff earlier that I had never even heard of. So just having that education and that knowledge and is going to be huge for the mom, because you're in a vulnerable state. You're at the hospital and you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, and sometimes the staff may not give you the full rundown of what the risks are, what this means. So having a doula can kind of explain, okay, here are your options.
Right, exactly.
You know, kind of give you that peace of mind of knowing what's going to be best for you. So that's huge. That is so huge. I mean, wow.
And I would encourage every mom, if you're pregnant now, or if you're watching this at some point in life and you are birthing, and someone suggests some sort of intervention or some sort of assistance, I always encourage the moms to say, hey, can I have a few minutes to think about it? So that they can gather the information, they can Google the information, they can call a friend, they can call someone else who maybe just recently had a baby, and collect some more information in context to what's happening, and then make a decision. Because I think that oftentimes we, just as a society, we sort of have this superior mindset of doctors or people in white coats. And when there are, 15 ladies in labor on any given night, things may be missed. And if you say, hey, may I please have 1 minute to think about it, and then you educate yourself and empower yourself and take your time, and then you know what's happening to you, rather than just having someone tell you what's going to happen. It's one of my that's one of my things, like informed consent. You have to have
gosh.
And if you
that's
don't know,
huge.
ask. Yeah.
I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that. So, and actually it reminded me, postpartum, after I had Xander, I'm still in the hospital at this point. I did lose a lot of blood, but I had to end up getting a transfusion, but my
Mm-hmm.
mom was there, my mother-in-law was there, and of course Jameson was there too. And they were really concerned because they thought that was like an unnecessary intervention. But actually my college roommate, she's a nurse practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
Louisa, and thank God she was actually there visiting. This was 2 years ago, and we were able to ask her and kind of
Yeah.
bounce ideas off of her. And I'm just so glad that she was there because she gave us some peace of mind. But
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
definitely helps to have someone who's trained and educated to give you some extra advice and
Yes.
be an additional advocate. Because at the end of the day, the medical staff, I know they're going to do the best they can, but they don't know you and you don't know
Right.
them. So, you want to go to someone you trust
Right.
and ask them for their advice, especially if they've been in that line of work before. So
Exactly.
I'm reflecting on that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad she was there because both of our moms were really concerned. I
Yeah.
was actually okay with it because I knew that I did lose a lot of blood. It makes sense. I should probably get one. But anyway, but you're so right. So
Yeah.
I'm
No,
glad that you
it's
talked about that.
important. And there's a lot to be afraid of or just kind of hesitant of, especially with numbers and statistics regarding Black maternal morbidity rates and Black maternal health just in general.
Yes.
And so good for you for reaching out and like being able to talk to her and walk through that with her.
I'm so glad that she was there. I mean, it was perfect timing. And actually, so I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be my next question. And talking about the infant and maternal mortality rate, and especially in the African American community, it's significantly higher.
Yeah.
What kind of role do doulas play in that sense? Is there any kind of evidence or factual data that helps maybe get that rate down and things like that?
So I feel like this could be its own like interview. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to like reel it in.
Yeah.
This is my passion. So yes, there are statistics again proving that doulas in working with all women of color, all women, there's still a decreased number of C-sections that happen when you have a doula present. However, the institutionalized racism in healthcare and everywhere, honestly, in our education system, in our systems, in our employment systems, all of this generationally discrimination that occurs affects Black women and women of color,
Mm-hmm.
affects them physiologically. Okay, so not only are Black and brown women not being listened to properly, they physiologically carry the effects of racism, and even if it's not directly toward them or outwardly expressed towards them, they carry that as a community and they have physiological responses to that. So what the research says is that it does not matter your socioeconomic status, your income level, your education level, your health, the status of your health prior to getting pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
All of those factors may contribute a bit, but we see women of color who have higher education, who have higher levels of income, and they're still dying at significantly higher rates than their white counterparts. And what that tells us is that it's not a physical thing. It's not something that Black and brown women can do personally to change the trajectory of these statistics and of their birthing rates. It is a systematical error that is caused by injustices and discrimination and inequalities and racism in our healthcare system.